Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Jamie Dean and today I'm sharing with you a new pickup for my retro gaming collection. This is the second half of a bundle deal that I managed to pick up fairly recently for just stupid money. I couldn't leave it there, especially given what it was. The first half of that deal was Lilac Wars, which if you haven't watched that video, you can go back and check that one out. But this is the other game that was in the bundle, and yeah, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, honestly. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I managed to pick both of these games up for less than what this game in front of me right now usually goes for on its own. And that game that I still can't quite believe that I have in my hands is Pokemon Stadium for the Nintendo 64. I mean, there's a little while ago where I went through my Grail games list. Another video you can go back and check out. I'll put it in the cards if I remember. And there were games on there that I pretty much just wrote off. Like I chucked them in my Grail list basically as a bit of a giggle because I just thought there's no way in the world that I'm ever going to get a copy of this. They go for ridiculous money, way out of my price range. They're really hard to find, especially, you know, complete inbox. And I just didn't think there was any hope in the world that I would ever actually own a copy of those particular games. One of those games, you can probably see over my shoulder here, is Pokemon Snap, that I picked up for complete inbox in fairly decent condition for about $50, which was just batshit crazy. I couldn't believe it. This is another one of those kinds of deals where I just stumbled across something and it just happened to be right place, right time. This was listed for significantly more than what I ended up paying for it, but they sent me through an offer on eBay that was just a stupidly crazy offer that I couldn't help but accept. I would have been crazy not to. And so here it is, Pokemon Stadium, a game I never thought I'd own in my whole life, in my hand, in its complete inbox form. So we'll drop down here to the bottom camera. We'll have a look at what's inside the box, and we'll have a look at the manual, we'll have a flip through, and we'll have a little bit of a nostalgic tour together. But there it is. There is that iconic, massive, chunky Pokemon Stadium box. Now this box is in, I think, really good condition. It does have the biggest sort of obvious gripe with this one is that it's been bashed on the corner here. It's been dropped on its corner at some point, so that's quite bent up and smashed. But other than that, I mean, it's got a few scuffs here and there on the corners, as you know, most retro cardboard does. I think, you know, there's no tearing, there's no sticker residue, there's nothing wrong with the cover at all. We've got Blastoise on the top there, and the advertisement for the Nintendo 64 transfer pack, letting you know that that is inside the box, and this copy does have that transfer pack in it as well, which made the pickup even more mind-blowing to me. There we got Pikachu on this side, Venusaur, and of course Charizard. You're not going to get a Pokemon box without Charizard showing his face on it. And then if we have a look at the back, again, really nice condition. We got a little bit of tearing up here, a little bit of scuffing. Same with this is the corner here, but again, nothing that I'm, you know, unhappy to live with. I actually like this, and I've said this before in my videos. I like a little bit of love on my retro cardboard boxes. It helps tell the story of the game, shows that it has been pre-loved. I don't want mint, crisp, sharp, you know, has been stored in acrylic on a collector's shelf since 1997 kind of condition stuff. It's out of my price range anyway, but I just think it's a little bit sterile, I suppose. I like a little bit of love on them, and that also brings them down into my price range, which is a nice bonus as well. So we can see some screenshots of the game here. We've got Blastoise giving it his best, Charizard, Moltres versus Ghastly. We've got a Nidorino. Haven't got my glasses on. That was a mistake. And one of the mini games that you can play. But yeah, look at that. Like really, I think, really nice condition as terms of actual box quality. I've done incredibly well here. So let's open this one up. and we'll have a look inside. All right, now just like Lilac Wars, I think one of the reasons this was so cheap is because it did not have its insert, and the inserts for these boxes can be really, really hard to find because they are not just the standard Nintendo 64 insert. They're these custom weird shaped things, and you know, if you have an insert for the box, you can just sell it by itself for quite a lot of money. Or do what I did, which was go and get a custom one made. So I've done that as well for this particular game. So we have the Pokemon Stadium cartridge there. And there it is. Lovely, clean, beautiful condition. No real nicks, tears, or anything. Just a fairly immaculate cartridge. It's got one tiny, tiny little dog ear on the corner. But other than that, I mean, I'm well happy with that. You can sit over there. All right, we'll get this insert out, if I can. Whoop, manual's going to come first. There it is. We'll have a flip through that in a minute. And then insert. Come up. There we go. Ta-da! So the insert for Pokemon Stadium is actually in two pieces that you put together, and that holds the transfer pack in the middle with the game that slots in on this side like that. All right, now this thing here, this is really, I mean, this whole thing is really nostalgic to me, but this in particular is really nostalgic. So I never owned Pokemon Stadium back in the day. I don't know, I think a friend of mine had it, and there was, because him and I would always play Pokemon Stadium together, there wasn't any real need for me to get it myself. He'd lend it to me every now and then if I wanted to borrow it for whatever reason. But I did own one of these. I went and bought a transfer pack so that I could play my copy of Pokemon Yellow, which was the first Pokemon game that I ever owned. And so seeing this, especially that there with its little yellow bar, just brings back memories to me, because my yellow cartridge would basically just live in this, and I would play it on the TV through the Nintendo 64. Yeah. And this is the first time I've really laid eyes on one since then. Yeah, wow. That's crazy. The memories. And of course, I would have Pokemon Yellow. I'll go down here. Pokemon Yellow stored in here that I would then take with me to my friend's house who owned the game, and that's where we do a lot of our Pokemon battling, was through Pokemon Stadium. But again, really nice condition. Transfer pack. It's got a little bit of dirt there that has basically just wiped off with my finger right now. But other than that, immaculate. So I'll put that to one side over here. All right, let's have a look at the manual. Whoop. Get the box shut. There we go. Okay, there it is, Pokemon Stadium. So this was, I guess it's hard to describe, and I always say this, it's really hard to describe if you weren't around in 1998 or were too young to remember Pokemania, right? If you didn't live through Pokemania, it's a hard thing to describe just how fucking batshit everywhere Pokemania was. But like Pokemon fever was like rife, worldwide sort of phenomenon, right? And that's a difficult thing to describe to people because there hasn't really, I don't think, been anything like that since. Not to that degree, like where the entire globe is obsessed with one thing. And I was 12 years old at the time, so I was like right in the target demographic for this shit, for Pokemon. And I loved it, man. It was like, you know, fucking this incredible thing that I just could not get enough of. I first experienced it through the anime, as a lot of people did. I didn't own the game for a little while after the anime. And when I did own the game, I picked up Yellow version, because it was, again, based on the anime that I love so much. I also had played Red. I never owned Red. I actually borrowed, so a friend of mine gave me a a ROM and emulator for Red on a floppy disk, on a fucking floppy disk, to play back in the day on my home PC. So that's how I experienced Pokemon Red, and I played the absolute shit out of that. And then after that, I bought Pokemon Yellow and played the absolute shit out of that as well and loved it. And having put so many hours into those games and the show and all, you know, going and seeing the movie, which was just, again, like fucking mind-blowing to see Pokemon up on the big screen. Seeing these creatures and this world that you love so much in 3D for the first time, first with Pokemon Snap, right? That was crazy. Like, it's a hard thing to describe what it was like seeing these things in, like, realistic looking creatures, right? So you got them at Pokemon Snap first, and then when Pokemon Stadium came along, you got to see these creatures in the flesh, how they would really look, but they were your monsters. Like, that was my Bulbasaur that I was looking at. That was my Venusaur. That was my Pidgeot, you know, that I was seeing with my own eyes for the first time in 3 dimensions, and it was just fucking glorious. And that was the magic, I think, of Pokemon Stadium. That's why, because really, there wasn't a lot of game in Pokemon Stadium. It was really just like kind of a vessel for you to battle other people with these 3-dimensional critters in 3D for the very first time ever. Now, as an old man now, I have so much nostalgia for the 2D sprite art, and I miss that so much, and I'd give anything for Pokemon to go back to that. They never will, but I miss the beautiful, beautiful sprite work of the Pokemon games, and I'm not really fussed on the 3D look. But back then, it was like all you dreamed of. Was like, oh my god, could you imagine what these would look like if they were real, if they were 3D? And then when we got it, it was like fucking mind blown for these like little fucking children. It was incredible. Anyway, let's have a look at this manual. Enough nostalgia waffling from me. So we've got our contents. We'll just have a quick flick through this. Our usual how to play with the controller in case this is your first game ever. Before turning the power on, please confirm the following connections. I'm sure we would have responsibly read this. We would never have just torn the box over and open and chucked the cartridge straight in the fucking console, and away we go. Multiplayer battles using the transfer pack. Here are the main controls. And starting the game. And there's that title screen. Look at that. Oh my god. Oh, my nostalgia glands. That's amazing. So cool. Game pack check. Oh god, I remember that too. Fucking hell. I haven't looked at this manual, by the way. I haven't actually really opened up this box and explored it. I wanted to do that here on video with you. So this is the first time that I'm looking through this in many, 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 many decades. Well, not many, many decades. Several decades. Some decades. A lot of years. I'm old. All right. Playing the game. The stadium and other battles. Please refer to page 32 for battle controls. Okay. Battle now. Growlithe, friendly and loyal, but also jealously protective of its territory. Carelessly approaching it may result in a bite. So this is again telling you how to set up. It's very it's going to sound silly, like an instructional manual, right? Like it's not like a here's the world of Pokemon, or it's like no, here's the mechanics of what you need to know to play the game. An event battle, battle rules, battle time. Move selection time, telling you how that's all going to work. Your options. Here's some slow bro. Look at that. Look at the fucking polygons, man. I can't tell you how good that looked back in the day. Like, that was just crazy. I can hear, like, just looking at these excerpts from the game in their polygon art, I can hear the game in my mind. I can hear the announcer. I can hear the moves. So cool. If its tail is bitten by a Shelder, Slowpoke evolves into Slowbro. The Shelder seems to like its crunchy tail. Well, so did a lot of people, according to Team Rocket. Ghastly, made of a thin gas-like substance that induces fainting if you get enshrouded in it, will not appear if it is very windy. Makes a lot of sense. The Pokemon Trainers Plaza main menu. where you could choose a place to visit. There's a look at the plaza itself. Just a static image. You know what I miss? I miss like static backgrounds in games that they would then overlay 3D models onto. Like Final Fantasy VII is the most famous example of this. Resident Evil did it as well. I really have a lot of nostalgia for that style of that graphical, I don't know, like it was like working within a graphical limitation to give the impression of a 3D environment. But those like painted backgrounds or digitally designed backgrounds were just beautifully detailed a lot of the time. And when I see, you know, static images like this from games in the 3D era, it just always reminds me of those. All right, where can we go on the Trainers Plaza? We could go to the stadium, we could go to the Free Battle, Gym Leader Castle, Pokemon Lab, Victory Palace, Game Boy Tower, and the Kids Club. What would you do in the stadium? I'm going to get my glasses. Just to ram the old man thing home even further, I'm going to need to wear my glasses for this. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to read jack shit. All right, where were we? Oh, God, that's better. I can see. Choose from the 4 cups in the stadium, each with different rules. And this is a solo, just a solo sort of thing you could play. There's all the basic rules. One trainer battles a computer-controlled Pokemon trainer. The trainer enters 6 Pokemon that meet the entry requirements. Each of the 6 entry Pokemon must be a different Pokemon. Before the battle begins, 3 Pokemon out of the 6. Select 3 of the 6 entrants. That's interesting. I remember that, actually. It made it a lot more like the gym battles in the anime. And I always really liked that about the gym battles in the anime and wished that they would transfer that into the games proper, where it would be like a, you know, you've got a team of 6, but you're only allowed to use 2. Pick 2. I loved that about the show, and I would love to see that come into the games. It just adds another layer of strategy into it, I think. Especially when you go up against gym leaders that have, like, you know, like Brock, for example, that had 2 Pokemon, and you're rolling in with a team of fucking six killers, and it's just like, you know, if you've got Squirtle or Bulbasaur, it's floor wipe anyway, but it just seems so swung, you know. Yeah, it would be cool that if you only had to choose a select few. I'd really enjoy that, I think. What else we got here? The Poké Cup, the Prime Cup, the Pika Cup, and the Petite Cup, all with different rules. We won't go through them all here. Tell you a little bit about quitting the game. Free Battle. So this is where you could actually play some multiplayer. Get in with your team of 6. Tag team battles. I remember that. That was a lot of fun. Where you would choose 3. Each of you would choose 3 and go a 2v2 kind of battle with a team of 6 made up of your selection of Pokemon that you've made. A little Raichu there. One of my favorites. Its electrical attacks may reach 10,000 volts. It discharges electricity from its tail, so it is not harmed by its own power. The Gym Leader Castle. Where you could work your way up. Quite difficult, I remember the Gym Leader Castle being, actually. We didn't play a lot of Gym Leader Castle. It was usually multiplayer that my buddy and I would play if we were playing Stadium. It was always, you know, we'd be playing our own games of Pokemon Red / Blue / Yellow, and then we'd sort of come together every gym or so, load it into our transfer packs, and have a battle against each other, almost like we were each other's rival. And I loved that way of playing Pokemon. And if I have ever gotten the chance to do that since, that's always how I play, is in tandem with another person. And after every gym, you have a battle against your real life rival who's going through the game as well. If you've never tried it, wonderful, wonderful way to play Pokemon with a friend or a partner or something like that. The Pokemon Lab. You can arrange your Pokemon. Use the Pokemon Lab to arrange the Pokemon and items saved on your Game Boy pack, and to save those Pokemon and items onto your Pokemon Stadium game pack. Bit of Hitmonchan and Grimer there. The PC! Of course, there was a PC. Cautions about moving Pokemon. It's very technical, isn't it, this manual? Like a lot of technical jargon on, you know, again, the mechanics of the game rather than the world the game's in. I guess because everybody knows Pokemon, right? That's why you bought it. Choose the left box, choose the right box, move, return, exchange, reorder, check, and reissue. No, release. All right, arranging items, arranging boxes, a little bit of side arc there. Look at him. Look at him in all these fucking polygons. Awesome. All this jazz. Holy shit. I mean, look at that. That as a child would have, like, that's overwhelming to me now. As a child, that would have been full on. Here we've got our Pokedex. Bit of Farfetch'd. Look at him. Look at that. Again, I can't tell you how crazy that looked back in the day. Like, that was spectacular. That was the best graphics I've ever seen in anything ever. Trading Pokemon. Victory Palace. The Valor Hall of Fame Pokemon. The Game Boy Tower. So this is where I spent a lot of time, in the Game Boy Tower, because that's where I would play Pokemon Yellow on my TV at home, instead of in my, I had a Game Boy Advance SP, a silver one. I'd love to get one again. It's on my grail list, actually, to try and track one down. I loved that thing, but just the novelty of being able to play this Game Boy game on your TV was, like, just kind of crazy back then. Something they continued with the GameCube. And the Kids Club. And that's where you could play a whole bunch of different mini games. We spent a bit of time in here too. This was like a bit of a sleepover. If Mario Party wasn't available, you'd chuck in Pokemon Stadium and play some mini games in the Kids Club instead, as a bit of a pseudo Mario Party stand-in. But you had Magikarp's Splash. Clefairy says, Run, Rattata, Run. Snore War, Thundering Dynamo, Sushi Go Round. That was a fun one. Ekans Hoop Hurl, I liked that one too. Rock Harden, Dig Dig Dig. Oh god, I remember all of these, every single one. Wow. Yeah, and obviously a lot of them were inspired, I think, by... I don't know if Mario Party came out before or after this, but it has to be after, because this looks very clearly influenced by Mario Party. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it's the other way around. Battling Pokemon. Again, a lot about how to actually do what you're trying to do. Look at the Ekans there, look. Oh, man. Renting Pokemon. Battle controls. God, look at it all. There's my boy. Bulby. Bulbasaur is my favorite. My favoriteest Pokemon. I'm wearing a shirt of his evolution at the moment. I don't actually own a Bulbasaur shirt. I own shitloads of Bulbasaur paraphernalia. Like, you can fucking reach out pretty much anywhere in my game room and lay hands on a Bulbasaur. There are Bulbasaur scattered all through here and my office. Fucking love him. Battle progress. God, look at that. Look at this fucking chart here. Look. That's wild. What kid's gonna sit down and follow this? Yikes. Like, my eyes even glaze over just like looking at that now. Ah, here we go. This would have been the page that got bookmarked and was open all the time. The type chart. The good old type chart. Something that we would reference all the time until you learned it by heart. And then they would change it. And you'd have to... And like, my type matchups in my head are still stuck in red, blue, yellow era. Like pre, dark, steel, fairy, which has thrown everything out of whack. And so I always get caught. Whenever I play... I played Pokemon Black fairly recently, right? And I always get caught out that what I remember being good against something might not necessarily be the case anymore, or vice versa. Always, without fail, every new Pokemon game I start up, I always get caught because my knowledge is far, far outdated. There's Meowth, everyone's favourite, Magikarp, Carp. Pokemon Stadium, first steps on the road to victory. You can train Pokemon from lower levels for higher stats. Oh, and look at the old school fucking screenshots. Yes! How rad. And then some important information. And that is that. And you can see actually on this screen here, they've got like the watermark of all the Pokemon in the background. That's kind of cool. So that is it. That is a little walk through Pokemon Stadium for the Nintendo 64. And like I said, a lot of my time spent with this one was playing with the transfer back in battles against my buddy who was my rival as we played through a new run of the game. That was a fantastic, fantastic time. And also playing those Kids Club mini games on sleepovers was always a good time as well. A lot of fun as part of, you know, a roster of games that you'd have lined up. You'd have to throw Pokemon Stadium in and have a little bit of a Snore War or whatever. What else? What was it? Was it a Snore War? And what was my favorite? It was the Lick Your Tongue one. Now I'm gonna have to go back and find it. Lick Your Tongue. Sushi Go Round. Sushi Go Round. That was a banger. That one. That was really good. They were all great. They were all really good. Really fun. But yeah. Pokemon Stadium picked up for the collection. Again, I don't have a box protector, just like Lilac Wars, because of the weird shape of the box. They're very difficult to find box protectors for these boxes, so I don't have one of these. I'm gonna have to find a custom one or one that's near enough somewhere, like a figure, a box that's meant to protect like action figures or something like that, perhaps. But in the collection nonetheless, and I can't quite believe that it's happened, that it is here, that I'm holding a copy of Pokemon Stadium, because I never ever in a million years thought that I would. And as soon as I saw it, I got all of these memories again from, you know, again, playing that playthrough of Pokemon Yellow against my buddy as the rival and coming and battling against each other in Pokemon Stadium. I'd largely forgotten about that until I saw this box and held it and just remembered those times and those really, really good fond memories. And that's the whole point of doing it, right? Like having all this stuff on the shelf behind me is the same for me as having photos in frames on the wall. They're all memories. They all evoke special moments in my life usually. You know, fun moments spent with friends and family, and Pokemon Stadium is absolutely one that belongs amongst them. And it's one, like I said, I never ever in a million years thought that I'd get to add to the collection. But there it is. We can cross that one off the Grail Games list. A game that I thought would stay there unhighlighted on the Grail list forever, but now it's actually lit up and it's here, and I can enjoy it and appreciate it. So really, really, really chuffed to have Pokemon Stadium, as you can probably tell. But that's going to do it for me for today, my friends. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope that was a nostalgic little wander through a game that you perhaps might have enjoyed yourself. If you did, make sure you drop down and leave a comment and let us know. Did you play Pokemon Stadium on the Nintendo 64? How did you enjoy it? How did you engage with it? It's sort of a game that you can play in a multitude of different ways and interact with in a multitude of different ways, depending on whether you had a copy of a Game Boy game or not, whether you had people to share it with or not. There are a lot of different ways to play it. It was a very flexible sort of system, I suppose. But yeah, if you did play it and you did enjoy it, please go down and leave me a comment and share some of those memories with me. I'd love to read them. I always do. But other than that, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. My name has been Jamie Dean, and as always, make sure you keep on side-scrolling. Take it easy. Oh, Pokemon Stadium. Fucking hell. Wild.